All right. Hi, everybody. How are you? Got the new senator here with us. All right. Let's get this show on the road. Do. Hope those guys can get in, call in. They should. All right. If not, it's me and you, brother.
We can handle it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it failed. Come on, let's not start this. Yes. Lost connection. Oh, there we go. Okay, Happy New Year, Sneezy. And there's Dr. Tom. Good to see ya. How are ya? How are ya? All right, here we go. Hopefully.
Talk show. Recorded live.
This is State Representative Bob Kozowski, and you are listening to Garden City Community Chat. Now here's your host, Carrie.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of GC Community Chat. I'm your host, Carrie, and joining me tonight is Wayne County Commissioner Richard LeBlanc and Dr. Tom Iwinski. This show is dedicated to you, the residents and businesses of Garden City, as well as the surrounding communities. Remember, we're working hard to promote our community and yours. Well, hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's Thursday, January 8th. And you are listening to show number 228. Richard, I see you're in the chat room. Richard's in the chat room. He's going to be on the phone shortly.
He better be.
But we have David here. Senator David Knezek is in the house. How you doing, David?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Good, good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It's going to be a good one.
It's been 2 long weeks, and it's great to be back.
Nice, sir.
That's right. The holidays are over, and we're ready to bring you as much news and information as we can for 2015. I'm your host, Carrie. Also joining me tonight, right from recently being sworn in by his lovely wife, Cheryl, today for the 9th time. Can you believe it? 9th time, Wayne County Commissioner Richard LeBlanc. He's in the chat room. He'll be getting on the phone here soon. And we can't forget our other co-host and resident weatherman, Dr. Tom Iwinski. Tom, how are you?
We're very busy in the weather center.
You got a lot of weather, I bet.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be with you in a minute. I know Richard's probably thrilled with you. All right, welcome to the show, and welcome those of you listening online in the chat room, and to those that will be watching us on our YouTube channel later. Thank you. We appreciate your support every week. Well, as I said, tonight we're pleased to have with us former state representative and now state senator David Knezek. We'll talk with the senator about his biggest accomplishments of 2014 and what he would like to see accomplished in 2015 as senator. Also, we'll talk to both David and Richard about any big changes that might affect our communities for the new year, and we'll ask Richard what he hopes to see accomplished in the county for 2015. Tom will be here with the cold weather forecast. We'll see just how long this frigid stuff's going to last. Joey and Holly, they're going to be back next week, starting a new 2015 Gardening in 2 Minutes segment, and we'll have some announcements and much more. So we hope you'll stick around for the next 60 minutes or so and join in the conversation via our chat room by going to our main show page at TalkShoe.com and search for call ID 82757. Once you're there, just click on the large join button, sign in as a guest, and you are good to go. Once you're in the chat room, you can type your questions or comments at the bottom of the page, and you'll find our phone number and show ID there as well. Now, the phone number to call here tonight is 1-724-444-7444. Enter the call ID 82757, followed by the pound sign. You can also text your questions or comments to us at 734-788-9319. So sit back, stay warm, grab your favorite beverage, and enjoy the show. Now, let me mention real quick, once you're at our main show page, you'll be able to download whatever shows you would like to listen to at your convenience whenever and wherever you want. All 228 shows are there, and it's a good way to get caught up on any shows you may have missed. We are also on iTunes. Just search for GC Community Chat. And don't forget, we're doing a video recording of tonight's show so you can put a face with the voice, and that video will be available later on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/communitychatshow. Okay, before we go any further, let's get the latest weather update from Tom, and then we'll get to David and Richard. So let's get Tom in here. Okay, let's do a check on weather with Doppler Tom. Let's see what he has in store for the rest of this week and the weekend coming up. Tom, take it away. Hey, Tom, you've been a busy guy, eh?
You know, 2016 starts, and so does the busy weather pattern. It just, as that calendar turns, and it's pretty crazy out there. Over the last few weeks, we dealt with this okay weather. We've seen some rain, and then it changed into more snow as we got into 2015. So we didn't miss too much over the break. But over this last few days, this snow has been really cranking it. It's been these Alberta clippers that come all the way from the Alberta territory in Canada, and they bring down all this cold air from the polar regions. And, it was pretty cold this morning, cold enough for a lot of school districts to be closed. And luckily, that's the only real cold I see to be closing schools. It's going to be cold, but not that cold. So that's some good news. But, yeah, as tonight we have that snow falling out there right now. Started around 6 o'clock this evening, and it's been a pretty steady snow out there. It's starting to really start to accumulate out there. The roads are really starting to get snow covered, and it's going to be continuing for the next few hours, and overnight it will start diminishing. And if you're on the western part of the state, you're just going to be dealing with that snow nonstop. They have been dealing with it, and it's now going to be a heavy lake effect snow event all across the western part of the state. They're probably going to see about a foot of snow out there. We're not going to see that much. We'll probably see about 2 to 3 inches with this system, and then it'll start winding down. And then as we get into tomorrow, the snow will probably be lesser in intensity, but it will still be around from time to time. It'll be these lake effect streamers that make it all the way from Lake Michigan with that big lake effect snow event across the western part of the state. But we'll probably see less than 1 inch with the snow tomorrow. And then it'll really start quieting down, which is the good news. And although it will stay cold behind the system, on Saturday we'll probably still be in the teens for high temperatures and single digits for lows. And then as we get into Sunday, it will start moderating a bit. We'll get into the 20s. It'll feel like a heat wave out there. And we'll see a little bit more sunshine as well. And then as we get into next week, it will continue to slowly moderate each day. I'm probably thinking all the high temperatures next week will be in the 20s. And then as we get into late next weekend, it'll flirt with the freezing mark, which is 32 degrees. So this was a pretty strong bout of Arctic air, but it doesn't look like it's going to be sticking around too much longer. So that's the good news. But pretty cold this morning, -1. So that's why a lot of schools. And briefly talking about 2014's weather, January through February, March, April, that was the winter that never ended. We've seen snow as late as April 5th, about 3 inches. So that was the winter that never ended. And just briefly recapping that, that's number 3 on the list. Number 2 on the list was the record dry in December. We did not see a whole lot of snow this season. It was one of the least snowiest seasons on record. And we only seen about a trace of inch throughout that whole entire month, which was pretty impressive for December. Kind of interesting that early in the year we seen a record-breaking snow, and then at the end of the year it was just a very least snowiest December. And then as we get into number 1, we all pretty much know what that was. That's August 11th and 12th, that pretty horrific rain event that happened in the summertime. Much of that summer was a very wet summer out there, but that those days in particular, it was absolutely catastrophic flooding all across our area, and especially in Detroit, where they had a lot of flooding as well. So just a brief recap of our weather across Metro Detroit in 2014, and spinning outward. Some of the bigger weather stories across the nation was just the California drought that has been ongoing. As of recent, they have been moderating a bit with the drought, but it's going to take much, much more rain to alleviate that drought. That's a few years of a drought. And the other big news was the Pacific hurricane season. That was just an ongoing season where they just had rounds and rounds of Pacific storms in Japan and a lot of the Pacific Islands. And Bermuda was actually hit by 2 hurricanes in 1 week, which is unprecedented because you've got to think about how small that island is, and to get directly impacted by 2 hurricanes in 1 week is just crazy. That's just crazy in the weather world. And the other stories were just the usual roundabout stories where they had a lot of snow and a lot of cold and a lot of heat. But luckily, this summer wasn't too bad for us. So that's briefly the weather out there. This Arctic blast is going to be continuing across much of the nation over this week, but it will start to alleviate as that jet stream kind of buckles and becomes more zonal, which is just straight across the country and not having that that brings all that cold air from Canada. So that's just a brief weather outlook. Be safe on the road, and if you want to keep seeing this updates of the weather, just go to my website, weather.net.
Well, I got to tell you, it is cold out there. Man.
But
Richard.
it wasn't as bad as last year, so we can't complain too much. We've dealt with the worst winter ever last year.
Yeah, Wayne County Commissioner Richard LeBlanc's on the phone now. Richard, you love it, right?
Oh, he's a big guy here.
Yeah, this is my favorite time of the year.
I know it is.
Yeah, at least it's not going to be sticking around this long, so
Yeah, that's good.
got to find a silver lining somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Got to candy coat it a little bit.
Doesn't kill me.
So, Richard, congratulations. Your 9th term, 9th time being sworn in by your lovely wife, Cheryl.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Can't complain, huh?
No, I'm very privileged, and I said so today.
Yeah.
You know, amongst the great things was that, of course, it was Cheryl's 9th time to swear me in.
Mm-hmm.
These are ceremonial events. You know, you get sworn in on an official basis by an official that's allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it was a nice, relatively calm day downtown at the county, and it was inclusive of some enthusiasm and kind words, and now we've got to buckle down and get to work.
Yep, roll your sleeves up. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
Right now, I want to get to our guest for tonight. As I mentioned earlier, he's the former state representative and now our state senator. Welcome, our good friend, Senator David Knezek.
I heard that woo out there.
Did you hear that woo?
I like it.
That was one of your fans.
It was one of the fans, yeah.
Has a nice little ring to it, doesn't it?
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. It certainly sounds a whole lot better.
Hey, you were named by Detroiter Magazine as one of the 2015 legislators to watch in Michigan. Now, that could be taken 2 ways.
Yeah. So somebody had commented on that I think we should watch all 148 of you, just to varying degrees.
Right, exactly.
But
that's kind of a big deal.
I thought it was very nice, very flattering. Mm-hmm. Now the challenge is always you got to live up to it,
right?
And so those things again, they're always nice, but it kind of puts a target on your back too if people are saying that
because they truly will be watching.
And expecting a lot too. Yeah. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but it's always nice to get that kind of recognition, and that Detroiter Magazine is put out by the Chamber of Commerce, and
okay.
Those are folks that I want to make sure I'm working with over the next 4 years to make sure that we're bringing the jobs and the companies that we need to southeastern Michigan to keep our economy going, and so I'm glad to have them as supporters. It means a lot to me.
Right, absolutely. It's always to have them as ally, that's for sure.
Right.
So you were officially senator as of January 1st, was it?
January 1st at noon.
Okay, and then you'll be sworn in. When's that?
January 14th at
noon. 14th. Okay.
Yep. I'm still trying to finagle additional tickets for my family to come watch.
Are you?
It's always tough, you get up there and you think, okay, I'm the rep or I'm the senator, I kind of think I'm the boss, but you're really not.
No.
And they tell you, well, you can bring 6 people to this thing. And,
wow.
We've got a pretty decent sized family, so I'm trying to finagle 3 additional tickets so that my grandparents and parents and brother and his girlfriend and everybody can come watch. And
now, is that pretty much everybody has 6 they can bring?
Everybody gets 6.
Okay.
Everybody gets 6.
Well, just find a term-limited legislator. They've been through it enough. They're
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Hey, so let's talk about 2014, some of your accomplishments that you're pretty proud of and what you got through, and maybe some that you didn't get through that you're a little disappointed in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2014 was, for me on a personal note, dominated by the campaign and heading towards the Senate this year. And obviously that was tremendous success. I think we won 78% of the vote here in Garden City alone.
Wow, that's
and
nice.
And again, I know the commissioner has said things to this effect too. You know, sometimes you go out and you do the job and you wonder if you're doing the right thing and you're hoping people are noticing and you know, holding you accountable and giving you feedback. When you get that kind of a response in one community, it really does feel good.
Right.
And it helps, you know, sort of keep me juiced up in terms of going out there and
Well, they have a lot of
fight for
faith in
Garden
you.
City.
You know, it shows. You know, that
and then aside from that, you know, legislatively, the beginning of the year started out with the lieutenant governor signing one of my bills to amend some of the early education statutes dealing with the R word. That was one of the big ones for me on a personal note. And then we ended the year with the passage of the veterans hiring preference here in the state of Michigan.
That was 5418, right?
That was 5418. And I don't know if I've talked about it on your show before. I had to imagine that I did.
Yeah, I think you have, but
Sure.
it hadn't been signed or anything. I think it was really in the works or something.
Yeah,
pretty much.
and so that was a bill, you know, since the Civil War, our public employers have been able to offer some sort of veterans hiring preference. And you see this on if you're going to apply at a police department, for example. You know, if there's a point system in play, you having been a veteran, you might get, you know, a 5 point bonus or 10-point bonus or what have you. And so again, just trying to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help veterans make that smooth transition back home and get into the workplace.
Right.
That's been public employers, and it's been that way since the Civil War, 150 years.
Wow.
We have never had that opportunity for private employers. And so I started talking to the folks, I mean, really, at the big three, Chrysler and Ford. Walmart was another big one.
They're all
the
on
Michigan
board pretty
Chamber
much?
of Commerce. Yeah, I mean, these are major employers
Huge.
who came to me and said, you know, David, we've wanted to do this for years, but the state of Michigan has to say it's okay for us to do it. And so, you know, we need your help, and we'll help you, you know, try and push it through. But, you know, it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So the bill was introduced, and it went pretty quickly, I'd say, through the House of Representatives, and then kind of stalled over in the Senate. And it really was the very, very last week we were able to get the Military and Veterans Affairs chairman to call his committee back into session just to take a hearing and a vote on the bill. Then the bill went to the floor of the Senate as a whole, and it went to the Senate with 2 days left to go in session.
Yeah.
2 days. And I joked with folks that those last 2 days, you know, I would go to the House, I would take my vote, and then I would walk over to the Senate to make sure that I was working the legislation as hard as I could and as much as I could. And that included, you know, picking up the phone and asking other people to advocate as well.
Yeah.
And it was the very last day of session, the very last day.
Yeah, like after midnight, wasn't it?
Yep. That was a day that we started at 10 a.m.
Oh,
and we
that was a
adjourned
long
the next
one.
morning at
Wow.
7 a.m.
That's crazy.
21-hour day. Picked up the phone, called Commissioner LeBlanc. He got on the phone and called people in Lansing, trying to push the issue and get them to take up the bill. And at, I want to say it was 12:39 in the morning, just after midnight, I was on the third floor of the Capitol building meeting with the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, and I got a text message that they're taking up your bill right now. You better run down here and make sure, you know,
Wow.
things go smooth. And that was it. Spoke to the governor's staff yesterday. The governor's got it in his hand. He's going to sign it here in the next 2 weeks, and
Oh, beautiful.
we'll be good to go. So,
Awesome.
you know, to me, that is
That's a big one.
It is.
That
It really is. It really is. And very excited, very proud of it. And truly, from the perspective of being a young legislator, both, you know, age-wise and in terms of the amount of years I've been serving in Lansing, it really was a phenomenal exercise in how to, you know, call upon people to ask for their support, to put the pressure on everybody, you know, when it's necessary, knowing when to push, knowing when to back off.
Yeah.
And in the end, we got a really, really good piece of legislation out of it. So I'm really proud of that. You know, if you're talking about disappointments, obviously I'm disappointed that the Garden City bill related to city managers and department heads didn't go
We
through.
call it the Murray bill.
The Murray bill. I don't call it the Murray bill.
I do.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that didn't go through, and was frustrated in the way that that got held up on the Senate floor, because it went through the House committee unanimous, went through the House of Representatives 107-2, went through the Senate committee unanimous, and then got held up on the floor.
But that isn't dead now, is it? You can revisit that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to reintroduce the bill. The end of the session brings about the end of all legislation. If it hasn't passed, it's dead. So I have to reintroduce it this year.
Just for the listeners, tell us what that bill is. I mean, basically in a nutshell.
That bill deals with communities who want to try and save administrative costs or to cut those costs by consolidating department heads either together or with a position like that of a city manager. Right. And here in Garden City, we have our police chief, Bob Murray, who is also the city manager. The city charter says that that's doable. The Attorney General doesn't give an opinion. Mm-hmm. The state of Michigan's Constitution is silent on it. And so there was this big dust-up in 2013 about what's right and what's wrong. And I really kind of sat back and let things play out for a little while before deciding to hop into that debate and to take the issue to Lansing and try and bring about a resolution there. Right. And so, I think that we're doing the right thing here in Garden City. I think by and large, if you talk to folks, they're very happy with the results that they're seeing out of Chief Murray, City Manager Murray. Oh, yeah. And we want to make sure that if there's other communities out there who want to save taxpayer dollars by shrinking the size of government, it really is a conservative argument that they have the right and the protections to do so.
That's what the governor's preaching, consolidate.
Yeah. And when it's right, it's not right for every community. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But I believe that we should let those individual communities make that decision themselves. Exactly. I always think that you have to kind of look at everything on a case-by-case basis. And
so do you think the reason it wasn't brought up, does it need tweaking maybe, or what was the
absolutely.
The issue?
My biggest thing was when we found out that it was kind of getting stalled on the floor, I went to the folks that I knew were had a voice in that conversation, and I said, well, what's the big deal? If we need to make a change, if we need to make a tweak, if there's concerns, let me know. Compromise is not a four-letter word, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of got a rough idea, but nobody was willing to give up the specifics of what we could change in that bill to give everybody what I would call the warm and fuzzy. Yeah. And so we're going to go back and we're going to revisit the issue this year. Before I even introduce the bill, I'm going to go walk around to all the senators, talk to them personally, and see, this is what I want to do. Speak now or forever hold your peace on what we can do to make it better, because my plan is to, again, push it through as best I can in the Senate this year.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I like to see that. Also, education. You had some success in education, too, didn't you?
What's interesting, education, the biggest piece as far as success goes was related truly to Garden City Public Schools. And making sure that school districts like Garden City, who serve alternative populations like at Cambridge High School or at the Berger School for Autism, ensuring that they are not punished when it comes to ranking school districts in terms of their effectiveness. Here in Garden City, phenomenal public school system. The students who are at Berger and Cambridge, obviously, by way of the fact of simply where they're studying, they're not going to graduate on the same timetable as other students. They're not going to perform as well on the standardized tests. I don't think that when you're serving that kind of alternative population, you should be punished for it when it comes to those rankings. Yeah. And so you've got a district like Garden City and many others across the state who, simply because they're doing good in terms of who they're serving and how they're serving them, the deck is kind of stacked against them. And so we just want to make sure that we changed the rules, provided that level of fairness, protected Garden City schools so that they could highlight the fact that they're doing a phenomenal job educating kids in the traditional school setting, as well as serving the alternative needs population that nobody else in the county of Wayne has stepped up to do like we have here in Garden City. Yeah, right. That's good. And what about veterans education? Didn't you have something? The veterans education piece, that's another one where we try to do a legislative route as it relates to veterans in-state tuition. Right. The pressure was so great when we put that bill into place, and the community colleges and universities really didn't want to go through in a legislative fashion. So by the end of 2013, every university in the state of Michigan, I don't want to say rolled over, but they did the right thing. And they decided that they weren't going to wait for the legislature to say that they need to give in-state tuition to veterans. They're just going to do it. And so, again, another great example of you don't always need a bill to get the outcome that you want. We had the bill. We created the conversation. We started putting the pressure on these institutions, if you will. And in the end, they came on board. And I give them a lot of credit. I give them a tremendous amount of credit.
U of M?
Yeah. U of M was the biggest one.
Yeah.
The community colleges, however, have not come on board with that proposal yet.
That's kind of I don't know, that's kind of
it's disappointing.
It is disappointing.
It's disappointing. And so the community colleges know that I'm going to be pushing the issue again this year. And so, they could keep
bracing themselves.
Yeah. They could keep being difficult, and I understand why, because they're looking at it from a fiscal perspective.
Right.
And
college.
so I understand that, and I get that.
Yeah.
So we're going to sit down, go back to the drawing table, the drawing board, if you will, and see what makes sense in terms of making sure that we can give the veterans those opportunities at our community colleges as well.
Sure, absolutely. We talked about it a little earlier before the show. DPS Director Roney had an article on the front page of the Observer today where road salt, the prices went up, way up. And I guess the Attorney General is going to be looking into that, and you're going to be checking that.
Yeah, I spoke to Director Roney a while ago. I have to go back and look at my phone to see the exact time. And he just said, keep an eye on if the AG is going to come down with a decision one way or the other. So I reached out to the AG's office. He had no inclination to rule or to offer an opinion. And when I saw the article in the Observer, picked up the phone and texted my contacts over there again. He tried to call, but we were on air, and so I let the call go. So I may have an update for you when I get off the air here. But again, at the end of the day, hopefully the AG comes down and realizes that if there was any malpractice, we had the situation with gasoline after 9/11, where Governor Granholm had to step in and prevent these gas stations from gouging individuals on the price of gasoline after a natural disaster or a terrorist attack.
Right.
So again, with last year, with the tremendous amount of snowfall that we had, the salt was in need big time. So if there is some sort of malpractice, hopefully the AG comes down and sides with the citizens and the community and municipalities on this. But if it's simply an issue of supply and demand, there's really nothing that you can do at that point. If it really comes down to the availability of salt that we had, because we know that so many of it was going through, there's going to be a price increase at some point. The question becomes, is it a legitimate increase from an economic perspective versus I know that you need it, so I'm going to drive the price up as high as I can?
And what really bothers people is we're sitting on top of a salt mine in Detroit, have all that salt there, and then they continue to raise it like that. I just don't get it. That's people don't understand.
Sure. Well, and again, to extract that salt takes a tremendous amount of money too.
It does. Yeah.
So again, if the AG is going to print or going to rule on it, we'll know. And like I said, we reached out to these guys, very good friends, and hopefully, the director will get some sort of response or closure on the issue here in the near future.
Good. Richard, what about the county? Is you want to comment on their salt issue? I assume it's gone up, right, all the way with the county.
Yeah, the former director of roads, Cindy Dingle, informed the commission probably, I'm going to say July or August, that their indications demonstrated or proved that we were going to be paying significantly more. And some folks were critical of, the process by which that occurs, but you don't buy salt today if you need it tomorrow. You buy salt in bulk months and months and maybe even years ahead. It's a commodity product is what it is. And so we were prepared for it, but we weren't prepared for exactly how much of an increase. I think it was about an 80% increase year over last. So, the county is forced to be like any other customer. We're forced to pay whatever the going price is.
Right.
Our hope is that if the Attorney General finds that there's been gouging, certainly we will benefit from it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, David, what about 2015? What do you got your sights set on for 2015?
should probably turn my microphone back on. 2015 is going to continue to be pushing the same issues that I have since I took office back in 2013. Students, seniors, working families, veterans. There's going to continue to be the conversations that we've had for the last 2, 3, 4 years in terms of things that we think are maybe not the best direction for the state of Michigan to be going down. And there's some sense in keeping those conversations going because, again, we want to make sure that people are keeping their attentions to the fact that there are a couple of cases over the last 4 years where we think the politicians just weren't making decisions in the best interests of the people themselves. We don't want folks to forget about that. But then again, the tone that I'm taking and the tone that I know a lot of the other members of the Senate are going to take this year is that we need to be able to work together. We want to be able to reach out to the governor and say, here are what our priorities are. We don't want to sit here and complain and moan and throw stones at you. Here's our priorities. Work with us on this. What can we do to work with you on your priorities? And again, obviously, for me, that safe space naturally is veterans issues. Hope to be on the Veterans Committee next year and to work with the governor in terms of getting those issues done. On the education piece, it's going to continue to fight for adequate levels of funding for our schools. The situation that we had in Inkster where school district went under due to financial distress, that's not going away for other communities. That's not going away for other communities in Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb, all across the state of Michigan.
Wow.
One sort of shining star I think that we have in that debate, though, at the end of last year, we passed a bill out of the House and out of the Senate, sent to the governor for his signature, that deals with conducting an official study on what it costs to educate a child. This has been done in a number of other states. Pennsylvania, for example, concluded their study realizing that they were about $4 billion short of where they needed to be in terms of meeting the needs of educating those children. And on the education front, again, I hope to be on education again. I was on education the last 2 years in the House. Issues related to funding, everybody can get on board with that. Whether you're part of the reform community, part of the public traditional community, making sure that kids have the resources that they need to be successful. I mean, this is all kind of common sense stuff. When we allow the conversations to get drug into the weeds, and it becomes what we would call in Lansing a sort of bomb-throwing contest between who can say the most hurtful or inflammatory things to try and drive the populace's opinion one way or the other.
Right.
That does absolutely nothing to bring about solutions. And we took a good long conversation about this. I had a good long conversation in the Senate these last couple of weeks about what type of tone do we want to have as senators the next year. And it was a pretty overwhelming response that we would much rather work with folks, be a part of that solution, to stop that sort of bomb-throwing, ideological fighting mentality and see what we can actually do in a productive way together.
Is this is Republicans and Democrats?
Well, this is the Democrats having this conversation.
Okay, just the Democrats.
What I believe, though, and again, this is based upon my conversations with some of the Republicans.
So you are hearing it on their side,
that they're looking for that too. They're looking for that too.
I'm sure there is.
The Senate, to me, I think is going to. Obviously, it's an entirely different animal. I'm excited because there's only 38 of us. The House, there's 110. That's a lot of people that you have to know. What makes them tick one way or the other. A lot of space to navigate. The Senate's a lot smaller. A bit more collegial, I guess I would say, is how the Senate wants to be perceived. And so I think it's easier to have those conversations and to move forward in a bipartisan and productive way.
And, with the constituents, they're fed up. I mean, they're getting to the point where they don't want to hear Republican, Democrat.
Well, and that's exactly what we acknowledge. The folks that are very far to the left or very far to the right, they're always going to stay there.
Yeah.
In the middle is where the decision is going to get made. In the middle, I mean, in a number of ways,
together.
The commissioner will tell you the middle is where all the decisions are made legislatively.
Yeah, I believe it.
If you're looking at it from even a campaign perspective, you're going to have that certain percentage of both parties that are always going to be entrenched, never going to change. Those middle folks, those independent folks, are the ones that sway the elections one way or the other. We saw it happen in the governor's race this year.
Yeah.
Independents overwhelmingly supported Governor Snyder.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're just looking at, from a strategic, to be forthright, from a strategic standpoint and also from a success standpoint, how do we want to articulate our message? Do we want to always go for the jugular, or do we want to take a step back, look for common sense solutions? Because you're absolutely right. when I say exactly what you said there to anybody in my district, I would much rather work with folks than work against them.
Right. Pointing the finger in that
yeah.
is a thing of the past. You just can't do it anymore.
And from a personal perspective, God willing, I'll be able to do my 4 years in the Senate here, hopefully get elected for another 4 after that.
4 years. Wow.
I know it's great. I'll be honest.
That's a long time, man.
You may get sick of me by then. You never know. I don't want to leave here in 8 years and have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to walk away and say, well, you know what? I just spent 8 years pounding my fist on the table and, spewing political vitriol
you want
each
to
and every day.
accomplish something, right?
You want to accomplish stuff.
Yeah.
And again, take that veterans issue. Perfect example.
Yes.
Democrats and Republicans both came together. It was the right thing to do, so we did it.
Yeah.
And, if I didn't have the relationships that I did, and I think that if I didn't have the tone that I did, they wouldn't have been willing to even consider the bill in the first place, even if it was a good bill, just due to the fact that I was conducting myself in a way that was unbecoming of a representative.
That's a good model right there
Right.
for others maybe.
Right. But like I said, the folks in Michigan want to see things get done.
Yeah.
And we want to be a part of the solution. And so we've got 4 years to do it.
Well, we got a big vote in May coming up for the road.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, that could go either way.
Right now, it doesn't look too hot.
It's not looking good at all, is it? No, and I know, Richard, you probably want to comment on that too, huh?
Well, I'm not going to be supporting that bill.
Yeah, I know you're not.
That election, rather. I think that it's been demonstrated by members of the legislature and the various proposals that came from them that there is funding available to do much of what's been described, and there's other methods that could have been used. Part of the thing that I've often mentioned is that when you have a millage election, and that's really what this is, this sales tax election is just to put additional money into an effort. And so the money that would otherwise be going there can be freed up for something else. Well, that's not what I want. What I want is if you tell us that you're able to spend $750 million and you need $1.5 billion, then raise the half that's left, or the three-quarter that's left.
Mm-hmm.
But this bill does far more than that. And the analogy that some folks have pointed to is the lottery. The lottery, 100% of the profit goes to public education. The difficulty is twofold. Number one, public education costs about $14 billion per year in our state. And so it raises, the lottery raises about 1/14 of what's necessary. And secondly, the monies that formerly went to education back in the 70s when the lottery was instituted then went elsewhere. So I expect this to be a really interesting conversation come about, March, April, and into the May election. And I believe that the business community is going to be tapped heavily for contributions toward the campaign, and some of the anti-tax folks are going to be gearing up. And this is more than a 1 penny proposal. This is actually a 17% tax increase, and that's a lot of money.
And then did I hear where even if it does pass, David and Richard, it's going to be another year before, or how long before we even see that?
The conversations and this came up in the debate, if you will, about passing this in the first place.
Right.
As soon as those bills were passed by the House, the road commissions, the road company, you name it, the contractors, they were able to go out and start bonding or taking out the money that they need to start road construction. Because the debate was, if we pass this in May, is it going to be too late in the season,
right,
or too far into the season to where we're able to realize any sort of benefit in an immediate way? Mm-hmm. And the peace of mind or comfort that we were given, if you will, is that as soon as these bills are passed in the House, that opens the floodgates for the contractors, the developers.
So they can start almost immediate?
So that if it passes in May, they're already going to have the money sitting ready and waiting to where they can start construction the very next day.
And that's in writing somewhere?
They're going to borrow the money is what it amounts to.
Right.
And then the state's going to pay them back.
Okay, I got you. All right. Well, I don't know. It's going to be it's going to be a close vote, I think. I'll tell you, it's not looking good. And if it fails, we're back to square one, right?
And man,
oh my God,
that's going to be nasty business.
What, Richard?
I say it passes.
You say it does?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be close.
When I made the joke, and again, just being completely forthright, for years, or for the last 2 years at least, I said I wasn't a fan of the sales tax increase. I'm still not. The reality is that we are presented with a compromise. That is what we had to vote on. And I looked at the compromise. I looked at what we were going to get one way or the other of it, and I supported it. So was I crazy about it? No. Did I support it? Absolutely. I would have liked to see, and I've talked about it from day one, us going back into the formula that we deal with in terms of sending those road funding dollars out. I would have liked us to pay more attention to the truck weight limits. We did have a bill go through that deals with the fines and the fees on overweight trucks if you're overweight, but nothing that changes the weight restrictions in the first place. Our education system, the school aid fund, is going to receive an additional $300 million every year if this passes. And we're going to be generating an additional 1.4. You'll hear 1.3, 1.4. It's 1.34 to be specific.
Okay.
1.34 billion with a B dollars for roads. And so, again, some folks aren't happy because they saw it as the legislature punting their responsibility. I would have liked to have had us just get it done and taken care of with then. But the folks have sent it to the voters, and now they're going to have their say. And I posted on my Facebook page, I think, a pretty exhaustive list of everything that was a part of that package.
I saw that.
And it's my hope that as we get closer to May, I'm always one of those guys who wants to educate as much as I can. As long as I can. But then you realize that a lot of folks don't even really pay attention to the last 2 weeks before the election.
Yeah.
We're going to try and work up together some stuff for social media, some infographics, so we can push them out there to our residents and let them know exactly what it is they're voting on.
Informed.
May is going to be a very low turnout election.
Very low.
So it's going to...
and what's that cost in that election, you figure?
The commissioner might have to help me on this. Is there something else that's already on the ballot on May there, so it's just kind of doubling up on the back of it?
No.
I think
it'll be fresh.
What's interesting is that
$2 million.
During my 6 years in the legislature, one of the things that was often criticized by many members of it were these stealth elections and elections that were not consolidated. And here the legislature goes and places one on a May ballot. So, there may be, in fact, I know that there are some special elections that are not going to be on the August or November election cycle. There are some within our state, but May, I would expect that what you'll see is local communities that might be scrambling for their own local efforts to consolidate within that May election. They would have already had to start working on that, of course, but there's no May elections that are normally scheduled. School board elections are now in November, for example.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Which I think is another problem in and of itself, but
it is a problem.
Yeah, I think so.
No one goes that far down the ballot.
Right.
So, I mean, the people that vote in May are either going to be folks just heading to the ballot and relatively uninformed. I think by and large you'll see the folks who vote in every single election and never miss one, who tend to be a more educated voter, who are going to go participate.
And, you can look at it this way. Richard and me talked about this, I think, but just before the holiday recess, where there could be some panic buying for big ticket items before this election, to get that 6% rather than that 1%.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just trying to stimulate the economy. There
you go. Look
at
it that way.
You going to buy me a new car?
Richard might.
Well, a $40,000 vehicle, you're talking $400 extra tax.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a lot of money to some folks. Maybe it's a ton of money to others.
Right.
But it's more money nonetheless. And there could be a spike in those rather expensive items for the election.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so anything – I know you wanted to besides the veterans and education, you also wanted to touch on the homeless. That may be a new one that you're going to –
This is something that I've been looking at for a while and trying to find the right way to deal with the situation. Homelessness really, for lack of a better phrase, professionally, I could say it frustrates me. Unprofessionally, I say it really pisses me off.
Okay, say unprofessionally.
We have what I truly do believe is the greatest country in the world, and it just really it hurts me to know that there's folks out there on the street without a home, especially in weather like this. -5, -10 degrees. It's just sad, and I know that's probably me just being emotional about it, but it's sad and it's upsetting to me. But
there's a lot of veterans too out there.
Tremendous amount of veterans,
uncalled for.
Tens of thousands of veterans who are homeless every single
day.
We
discussed today where Doug and they got tent cities going up in the middle of the city, building fires.
And so I'm going to try and approach this from one, a veterans angle, and then two, really from a cost savings angle.
Okay.
In terms of what we spend as a state every year on the homeless population. And there's a lot of things to consider, the cost of incarceration for homeless folks who commit a crime. Some, admittedly, who do it simply to go to jail, to have a warm place to sit. Now, that's not every case, but it's certainly been proven to be true. And the cost of, going to the hospital. Those are other unfunded care pieces that end up getting passed on to, you and me.
We're treating it.
Yeah. So we end up paying for that stuff. And so the good thing is there's a number of states out there who have looked at this homeless piece, whether it be from a moral angle or a financial responsibility angle. The cost in Michigan and elsewhere in the country, you're looking at between $20,000 and $40,000 a year per homeless person. And again, it's the health care cost, it's the incarceration cost, it's all that stuff. $20,000 to $40,000 a year. Utah, very conservative Republican Utah, said that they're going to try and do something different, providing the homeless with modest housing and a social worker. Within a period of 5 years, Utah saw its homeless population drop 75%. Other states across the country have seen their homeless population drop between 60 and 75%.
Now, who paid for those homes? Modest homes?
Now, that's going to be the state who picks up that tab. Because they're going to say, I can spend, the cost was $8,000 a year.
So that'd be taxpayers.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, they're saying we're going to spend $8,000.
Which is considerably less.
As opposed to $20,000 or $40,000. Right. And by spending that money, getting them back on their feet, the pilot program that Utah did was 17 people in Utah. The very first year they did it, not a single one of them has ever gone back to being homeless. So you're saving money on the homeless population on the front end. Two, the folks are back on their feet. They're going back to work. They're taxpayers now. They're buying a home. They're buying cars.
Staying out of the hospitals.
Yeah.
So jails.
It's one of those tough conversations because you're going to folks saying, we think the state of Michigan should pay for this on the front end. It's the same argument I make with education. We should, in my opinion, invest heavily in pre-K kindergarten education because it saves us a tremendous amount of money at the long end.
In the long run.
The more money you spend on the front end for the kids, the more money you save in the long run. I think this is another one where we're going to be paying $20,000 to $40,000 a year, period, because we have homeless people. We know that's not going away.
Well, do you know if other states have followed Utah and used them like a model for this?
There's been over a dozen states that have done it. I think the specific number is 16, but I have to bring up my notes for you.
May have to contact them.
And that's exactly what we do.
Have them come in and
So, we're looking at that, and again, to me, it's a cool issue. Cut down the homeless population, save a bunch of money, help the veterans.
It's pretty emotional too,
Oh yeah, and again, this is like in the nebulous phase. Like we've been working on this for a week, and so
I mean, I cannot imagine anyone being out in this weather homeless. I mean, no shelter. I mean, how in the hell could they survive?
And we talked, beforehand. Other thing that we're going to try and do here in 2015 is there's a number of things that frustrate me in government because both parties, again, ideologically, they're going to create whatever scenario they want to have people believe. Sometimes that's not entirely true. My favorite is welfare. You go to folks and you ask them, who do you think is the primary recipient of welfare in Michigan? And they kind of give you like that look and a wink like, David, I say, oh, no, I do know because I've seen the statistics from the state of Michigan. So who do you think is primary welfare recipients? And when you tell
I would
them,
say mothers.
It's single white mothers in the suburbs.
Okay.
Number one recipients of welfare. A lot of folks have that welfare queen mentality that was started, sorry, Commissioner, in the Reagan era. of, single African American male in the urban center. And that's simply not the case. So, we want to try and do some things, whether it's about that or other emotional issues that people want to always force down people's throats to really get them emotionally to feel one way or the other. We want to try and rise above that fray, have that education piece, whether it's through social media or others. And again, it's not going to change overnight.
Well, like the drug testing of
start.
welfare recipients now.
That's another one.
That's a big issue there. That
you could, and I'll tell you, this is a great example of my
Do you
residents.
support that?
No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. Tell you why. Money.
A lot of money.
This is and I'm glad you brought it up because it's a great example. Mm-hmm. If I talk to my residents in Garden City about that issue, they tell me I'm wrong, and I respect their right to do that. Mm-hmm. But then I point out to them, you look at other states that have done this. Drug testing welfare recipients. I'll take the state of Florida, for example, because I know the numbers. Okay. The state of Florida has X amount of welfare recipients. Mm-hmm. They decide they want to drug test them. The number of welfare recipients in Florida who tested positive for drugs was 2%. The national average of drug users in the country is 5%. So the welfare users in Florida, now it could be just Florida, but I'm tempted to say we'd see similar numbers elsewhere. The number of drug users on welfare, percentage-wise, is less than the national average.
And what did it cost them to do those tests to find 2%?
It cost them $160 million.
Are you serious?
To administer the tests, and what they saved was a couple $100,000. And so you're pissing money away.
Yeah,
and
no
so,
kidding.
and Carrie, I'll be the first to tell you, when I was in the military, I was drug tested periodically. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the military was.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I got out of the military, I was the first person. I'm telling you the truth. I was the first person to say, if you had to drug test me to be in the military and serve my country, you better drug test somebody if they're getting help from the government. Mm-hmm. I believed it hardcore, all day, every day.
And then you saw the numbers.
And then I got asked to be responsible for spending other people's money, and I saw the numbers, and I can't support it anymore. I would be willing to say, though, if we're going to do that here in Michigan, which the governor just signed the bills.
Yeah, it has passed.
Let's come back after 3 to 5 years and let's see what the numbers are. Let's see what the numbers are. Okay. Because then we as politicians, we as elected officials have to be mature enough to look at a problem and say, you know what, if it's working here in Michigan, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I was wrong. But if we find out that it's not working, we need to be mature enough to say we made a mistake and we need to back off.
Right. So who's the watchdog over that?
I mean it's going to be one of the state departments who administers it.
Okay, so would you be able to see the numbers
Absolutely.
after 1 year, say?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
see what it costs and how many are on?
The other thing is, it's suspicion-based here in Michigan, so it's not going to be everybody.
Oh.
And so, for some folks, that opens up question marks of, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, how do
you look like you're a drug user to me.
So who's determining that? The caseworker?
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Oh.
And so, that opens up
Could be some bias there, too.
Oh, exactly. So it opens up a Pandora's box. If you were doing everybody, you would have
Across
the numbers.
The board, yeah.
And so, but I mean, to your point, that's a great example of, there is the mentality here in Michigan that that's the right thing to do. I don't think it's the right thing to do because the numbers tell me otherwise.
Well, now that you say that, I mean, it makes sense, really.
Right.
It does make sense.
I'm glad I've
now.
converted you in 5 minutes.
Well, I don't know. I'm definitely going to think about it now.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's mind-boggling, your case example in Florida. Wow. Wow.
But like I said, if we do it here in Michigan and I'm wrong, I got no problem admitting I'm wrong.
But like you said, it's not going to be across the board, though. It's only going to be pick and choose.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Not too accurate.
No, I don't disagree. So when it came up, I didn't vote for it. I know some people were disappointed, but those are the same folks that I pick up the phone and we have a conversation after the fact. Yeah. The problem is, how long did it take for me to explain that issue to you just now? 5-10 minutes? Mm-hmm. You don't have 5-10 minutes to explain it to everybody in the district, especially now. I got 270,000 people.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it's tough, and that's why in politics, just to get back at the 40,000-foot level, everything is broken down into a soundbite.
Yeah.
Everything is broken down into a talking point because it's easy to replicate. It's easy for people to hear it, wrap their minds around it, and then repeat it. Mm-hmm. We're good parrots, human beings are. We're good parrots.
And even to put it down in paper, people don't want to take the time
They don't want to read it. Yeah.
They don't want to read it.
So
They've already made their mind up.
Exactly.
I want them all drug tested. It's my money. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. And that's the thing I tell them. I don't disagree. I know it's your money. So you're going to either have
But it's going to be your money for testing them, too.
Yeah. $160 million in Florida.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I digress.
Care to comment on that, Richard?
Well, it's one of those arguments that is the latest, so to speak, as to how to be very pointed, direct, accusatory, and political. And so, both parties, as the senator mentioned, both parties have their talking points, so to speak, and they try to put the others in a corner or in a box. Mm-hmm. And this is the one that the controlling party right now was successful with. Mm-hmm. I suspect that there was negotiation with the governor, who appears to be more moderate than that, but there was probably negotiation with the governor. He wanted something, and so he probably agreed to sign that bill. Mm-hmm. He is amongst other things, he is a numbers person, mm-hmm. and I suspect very definitely that he viewed it and knew that it was a loser financially. But the process is such that you negotiate, there's give and take.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
there you have it. I mean, it's true. I mean, like the commissioner said.
Yeah.
Another example. It's almost 9:00, so I don't want to talk forever. But
no, we're on.
We had that. We called it RFRA, the Religious Freedom Act that came through the House last year, and this bill dealt with, essentially, folks can't do anything that stands in direct contrast to their religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so Democrats went out and we made a huge, I don't say we because I didn't do it. They made a huge stink over this bill because they thought that it was discriminatory. And I understand that, and I get it, and I agree with them on that. What they don't tell people is that bill, that law, has been the law of the entire United States for the last 20 years. And we haven't seen any, discriminatory, blatantly discriminatory actions that are shielded or protected under that law. Mm-hmm. And so Democrats and their efforts to try and jazz up the base, mm-hmm. get them all fired up. For days, I saw these memes going around on Facebook saying that the House of Representatives in Michigan is getting prepared to pass a bill that says ambulance workers don't have to serve the people if they show up at a crime scene if they're gay and they don't like gay people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There is no bill that we ever considered in Michigan that talks about ambulance workers and not being able to serve gay people. And I'll be the first to say, everybody knows this about me. I support equality. I support marriage equality. Always have, always will. And I don't think anybody should be discriminated against based on sexuality, specifically somebody who's in need of medical treatment. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There was no bill that said that. But Democrats took a bill, thought of the worst possible scenario in the world, and then they pushed it out there to the world to try and drum up support and people to call and push back.
Wow.
But that's so dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
And that's so irresponsible because you're telling people mm-hmm. these things as if they are fact, as if that specific language exists in statute, and it doesn't. Mm-mm. Could it possibly have come up as a result? Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it can't. But when you present things to folks as irrefutable fact, wow. it enters a part of the political dialogue, and it never goes away.
That's very
And
dangerous.
then the hill that we have to climb to undo that damage later as elected officials, it just can't happen. And so I say that in an attempt to demonstrate to you that I know that my party is just as guilty of it as the members of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Both of us are guilty. That's the negative, the soft underbelly of politics that on days makes me say, I really wish that I didn't have to deal with that type of crap every day. Mm-hmm. But, that's the game that people want to play.
It's the job, yeah.
That's the game that people want to play.
Right.
So, the commissioner knows this. I talked to him earlier. We're on some, I don't know, maybe it's sort of like hippie-ish, effort that I want this year to try and just educate people on the facts. To educate people
It's very important.
And to challenge the status quo in terms of what people maybe have thought or been told for the last number of years.
Right. I mean, you're learning things every day, and I want you to pass that along to everybody.
Right. And I want you to share it on your Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And on the show. For 2015, we're going to share more on the show.
There we go. And before I forget, the commissioner and I are still doing coffee hours in Garden City.
Right.
The second Monday of the month.
It's going to be the 12th.
From 11 to 12:30.
January 12th.
Next Monday, 11 to 12:30. We are going to be at the Maplewood Center.
Yeah, you're still going to be in the Michigan room for now?
For now.
Okay.
For now.
Maybe something.
But yeah, so second Monday of the month, 11 to 12:30, we're still going to be there.
Okay.
And we want our Garden City residents to come out and rake us over the coals. And
Julie Plawecki,
our
the
state
new
representative,
rep, will be
Julie
there.
Plawecki,
So
will be
if you
there
want
as
to come
well.
out and meet her, be there.
She's much better looking than the
actually,
commissioner and I.
Just to clarify that portion,
Okay.
the House of Representatives has a caucus event, a meeting that they're required to attend. It's a mandatory meeting on that first coffee hour date, the 12th. So none of the state representatives that share coffee hours with the representative, rather the senator and I, will be in attendance.
So you guys can Skype her in maybe.
Well, I guess that's a possibility. But
FaceTime.
not a probability.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, she's got to do her job first, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's get to you now, Richard. Let's talk about the county.
Make it quick, Richard.
What are the disappointments of 2014? I know the biggest one is probably no resolution to the jail.
I'm going to say probably the biggest disappointment continues to be that we're not where we need to be financially, and of course, that would include the jail.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the jail certainly had the biggest photograph on the page, so to speak. It was the front and center item that represented, to steal Senator Rick Jones's word, the biggest boondoggle of recent memory.
Boondoggle. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in 2014 that really kind of rubbed you the wrong way, that went down, didn't go down?
There probably is, but it would be overshadowed by our continued financial challenges in Wayne County. So not that I can think of, though. I mean, I'll say that in a local sense, I'm really proud and I'm really pleased with our local communities and the progress that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd rather focus on that.
Okay. You got a couple new commissioners sworn in, right?
Yeah. We have Commissioner Terry Marecki. Terry lives in Livonia and was the successor to Laura Cox, who is now state representative.
Okay.
And Commissioner Al Haydes was the mayor of Wayne, and he now serves in the seat that was formerly occupied by Kevin McNamara.
Oh, very cool.
So everybody was in attendance today. They had a number of family members, both of them, in attendance to share their swearing-in ceremony. And, aside from that, of course, the other 13 commissioners are the same old commissioners that we've had for a couple of years. So it's going to be good.
Pretty much status quo, yeah. Well, congrats to the two new ones, and congrats to all the commissioners that were sworn in today.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me ask you this. What do you see for 2015? What are you hoping to see for 2015? And how is the transition going with the new executive?
Today, during the swearing-in ceremony, a number of my colleagues made the observation that the new county executive, Warren Evans, was in attendance for our swearing-in. I have to acknowledge I don't remember what happened 2 years ago in terms of Mr. Picano, but the allegation was made that was a rarity. So he was there. He did not get sworn in when we did. That is a separate event. This is a commission meeting, not an executive meeting. But I think that there were look, he's no stranger to any of us. Folks like me, we've known Warren Evans for some time. We've seen him as the sheriff. We've seen him as the police chief in the city of Detroit. We've seen him oversee or be a part of various local events and functions. And so he's got a heck of a task, though.
Yeah.
I believe that the commission will be very willing to work with him to address our issues. I know that one of the comments that I made, for example, was that there were some challenges over the past 2 years that many of us, myself included, just did not expect. Our leadership team within the commission did a yeoman's job of addressing those issues and to provide the proper transparency, and we addressed the things that as they needed to be, but there were times that some of the effort from the executive himself just was not as visible maybe as some of us would have cared to have. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that I remember one meeting within the past 2 years that the executive was there briefly. Mm-hmm. And I was assured today by one of the new appointees of the new executive that that's going to be something of the past, that you're going to see a little more visibility and hands-on. Well,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you if you feel. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you if you feel that he'd be a little more transparent with the commission too.
Well, I think initially it's almost required. I mean, he's new in his spot. Mm-hmm. There are a number of people that I'm told were not asked to stay on as a part of his team. Mm-hmm. So the transition is still occurring. I called, for example, last week to verify who is in charge of roads, who is the director in charge of roads. And they said, we don't have that name for publication yet. And as of today, I had another question involving roads, and that person still has not been identified. So there are some positions that appear to be vacant still. Mm-hmm. I know that they're working to get things complete. The senator and I have a meeting next week with one of the appointees of the executive, and maybe we'll learn together a little bit more about where they're at with some of these things. But, I sense that there's a lot of optimism right now.
Good.
The sheriff, listen to me, the executive is a former sheriff. Yeah. So he knows the exact budget that represents the highest degree of overspend in the. He knows the budget. He knows the process. Now he's at a position where perhaps he can address it in a different manner. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, you got a lot on your plate for 2015. I mean, there's no doubt about it. As far as
I think that we'll continue to see that the jail is going to be very pressing. I'm hoping that they'll share an administrative timeline as to when they would like to have this process either determined and completed or otherwise addressed, because right now it's in limbo. Limbo still costs us money. Even though there's no construction occurring at that site, there's still about $60,000 a month that's being spent. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so once they've completed their due diligence, my hope is that they'll make a recommendation to the commission, because that is how the commission acts. It's based upon recommendation either from itself or from the administration, but this is an administrative project. So hopefully we'll be working together very soon to get some closure regarding that and to otherwise address what I see as the most pressing issue of 2015, and that is really to get our financial situation in order.
Yeah.
And I believe that necessary legislation notwithstanding, that the issue of an emergency manager or some other similar act is still realistic for Wayne County. I don't think that just because we're a county and not a city that insulates us in any way.
Wow.
And I think that, the county is in a really, really difficult spot. Mm-hmm. One of the, I'm going to back up just for a moment. One of the good things, though, that occurred during 2014, during year 2 of my service, was that Wayne County, through actions involving County Executive Picano, the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, and the Treasurer, of course, Mr. Wojtowicz himself, and the Wayne County Commission, was that we paid down accumulated debt approximately 75%.
Wow.
Using very round numbers, we went from about $200 million accumulated debt down to less than $50 million.
Wow.
And that is very significant to the taxpayer. The problem is, not only do we still have in the mid-40s in terms of accumulated debt, but we still have a structural problem where we're overspending by $30 million annually. So that's the bigger issue, and that's the issue that I hope we all focus on.
Right. Have you heard any mention of any roads that will be done in 2015 in our area?
No, I haven't. And part of that involves the fact that those recommendations, they do come from the executive side. They make their way to the commission side. They involve the state as well.
Okay.
Most of the money that we spend is pass-through money, so it's done in concert with federal and state dollars and in consultation with folks in the state. I know that the senator has a couple of projects that he'd like to see considered and addressed, but I've not seen that list yet. I'm not sure when we might see it. I have to acknowledge that if I had to take a guess, I'd say March or April.
Okay.
But
well, I know when you do, you'll let us know.
Yeah, of course. And as I've said on the show in the past, although we have thousands and thousands of road miles in Wayne County, there's only double digits that actually get consideration in the budget.
Now, let me ask you this. If this 1% sales tax increase passes in May, does the county get any of that money for their roads?
That's a question that I can't answer. My inclination is to say no.
Wow.
But that may not be true.
Okay.
It may not be true. I believe that this addresses a state responsibility involving roads.
Is it just
that involves projects within counties and within municipalities, but the discretion will remain at the state just as it is today.
Yeah, it would be nice if the county could get some of that. But that's basically state roads then, right?
Yeah, and again, there may be some provisions in there because we're shifting around so much within the tax code itself. For an example, like a Redford Township, who all the money that might have gone to them goes to the county for the purpose of taking care of the roads in the townships. Cities get the money directly; townships don't. It goes through the county.
Right.
So there may be opportunities for the county to get additional dollars for the purpose of maintaining those municipalities. But specifically for county roads, I couldn't speak with any level of confidence as to what they might specifically be getting in a standalone kind of way.
Yeah, maybe something we can check into, huh?
The commissioner could come back to the Senate or something.
Yeah, there you go.
And what I'll do is I'll call my senator and
petition for some of that money for the county.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right, well, what else you got, Richard? Anything else you want to leave us with for 2015?
In terms of the county, I think I've pretty much said it all. I'll tell you that locally, I'm enthused about an improving economy, or one that seems to be improving, and how it's going to affect positively the communities that I serve. There are expectations, I think, that if you see light at the end of the tunnel, and we are now, that you're going to see a smoothing of some of the things that we've had to tolerate in the past. I know that Westland, for example, is with grant money and with other set-asides is considering the hiring and did just hire some public safety folks. I know that Garden City, you've got very capable people that are working on behalf of the city manager and the mayor and the council. And so, I think that I'm not suggesting that we need to totally loosen the purse strings and go nilly-willy, but I think it's going to be nice to see some investment in our communities again. And some of the issues involving vacancies and whatnot, I tend to believe that we're going to see additional business interest in 2015. And I guess I would conclude my comments by saying the issue of gasoline pricing right now is interesting in a lot of ways.
Wow.
But one of the ways that I think it's just incredible is that it is allowing for local spending in ways that local merchants are saying they haven't seen in a while.
Yes.
I talked to some folks very recently that say their business is picking up.
People got extra cash.
They have a little bit extra money. Yesterday I went to the gas station and in my car, my Explorer, and I had about 3/8 of a tank, and I rarely let my car get below 3/4. But it's just one of those things.
Right.
So I went in there, I gave the guy a 20, and I came out and I filled my car up, and I'm thinking, I wonder if I'm going to use $20.
Yeah.
And it's a bigger vehicle, so it has a bigger tank.
Right.
And I had to go slowly through the last dollar because it filled it right to the top.
Squeeze it in there,
You
yeah.
know, and I tell you where I was coming from when I did it. I was coming from a restaurant in Westland that I had to leave because there was a line out the door on a Wednesday evening.
Wow.
There were so many people there.
Yeah, it does seem to be stimulating the economy a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that, you know, and I'm really concerned about our low wage earners. I'm really concerned always about my kids and other young people. And, you know, when they were paying $4 and $4.25 for gas, that takes money right out of some other form of, you know, need or entertainment that they might be wanting to have. And so this is, for right now, I know that they say the economy is a little bit fragile because of it. Yes, the stock market went up again today quite a bit. But you know, for right now, even if it stabilized a bit, as opposed to decreasing in terms of the price per barrel, I'm good with this $1.80 gas.
Oh, you better believe it. It's a welcome sight, I'll tell you that, to everybody. And like you said, I think, you know, putting that extra money in people's pockets is helping the economy too. So
it is, and our local economy.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we preach shop local.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything that I try to do, I try to do in our community.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, sounds good, sir. Appreciate you coming on. I know you had a busy day today and probably tired.
Yeah, everybody's busy, you know.
Yeah, we all got busy lives. Yeah, some of us, you know, more busier than others.
270,000 residents I got to take care of, he said.
Oh, for God's sake. All right, well, let's wrap this up, and if you have to drop off, go ahead. I understand, and we'll close the show out.
It's a podcast.
All right. Let me mention, the City Council wanted me to remind you that the first council meeting of 2015 is Monday, January 12th, 7 p.m. at City Hall, 6000 Middlebelt Road. The City Council urges all residents to attend if you can. Mark your calendars next week. Coming back to the show will be David Jebaharian. He wants to come back from the Marketplace Help Center. He wants to remind people that time's running out to apply for affordable health care. And he's also going to have some examples of the types of coverage people are getting. So he wanted a few minutes to come back on. So I says, sure, why not? Anything we can do for the community. So join us for that. Don't forget, we are still looking for guests to have on the show. So if you're interested in coming on and sharing your story, or maybe you own a business or you provide a service you would like to share with the surrounding communities, then now is the time to contact us so we can get you scheduled for an upcoming show. If you're interested, just email us at gccommunitychat@gmail.com, and it's that simple. Let me mention the GC Business Alliance will be having their first meeting of 2015 tomorrow. That's Friday, January 9th at 9 a.m. Now, it was supposed to be at the Guardian Martial Arts, but we have moved it back to the Straight Farmhouse, which is located at 6221 Merriman Road. Now, that's just north of Ford Road. Unfortunately, Kelly's brother-in-law recently passed away, so our sincere condolences to her and her husband, Shelby. So remember, Straight Farmhouse tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Now, for more information about the GCBA, check out their website at GardenCityBusinessAlliance.org, or you can email them at gcbusinessalliance@gmail.com. Remember, we will upload this show when it's available to our Facebook page at facebook.com/GCChat. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/communitychatshow. And be sure to subscribe. All right, let me mention a couple announcements here. What do we got? If you like euchre and pinochle, there's going to be a euchre and pinochle card party, and it's going to be sponsored by the Garden City Garden Club. That's going to be Saturday, January 17th. It starts at 6 p.m. Cards will start at 7 p.m. It's going to be held at the Good Hope Lutheran Church at 28680 Cherry Hill in Garden City. There is a $20 entry fee, cash prizes for first, second, and third place, while they supply the cards, snacks, and beverages. So for $20, that's a nice evening of entertainment. Also, if you got a 2015 Garden City Garden Club calendar, there will be some of the girls there to autograph it for you. So be sure to bring your calendars with you, and some will be also available for sale. So once again, the money that's raised will support landscape beautification projects in Garden City. Also, the Garden City Kiwanis wanted me to invite you to the Motor City Casino trip that they're having Saturday, January 31st. You pay $30 and you get $30 in slot pay, so it's actually free. If you come, let's see, you're going to be leaving the Kmart parking lot in Garden City at 8:15 by bus, real nice bus they have. You're going to arrive at the casino at 9 a.m. At the casino, each participant will receive $30 in slot pay. The bus will depart the casino at 2 p.m. and return back to Garden City. Now, to make a reservation, call Party Animal Travel at 734-525-9777. Cash, checks, and credit cards are acceptable. So that sounds like a fun time right there. And then let me just mention once again, January 12th, Monday at 11, I believe, right, David, is your coffee hour, correct?
At 11.
And you'll be there. Commissioner LeBlanc will be there. And I guess Julie won't be there because she's got to be in Lansing, I guess, for a meeting, according to Richard. So anyway, 11 o'clock at Maplewood in the Michigan room. So make sure you head over there. And I think that's pretty much all I have. Remember, if you purchased a calendar last year from the Garden City Garden Club, you got to wait until you see the 2015 calendar called Garden City Garden Club Paints It Up in the Garden. Calendars are available at Lucky Dog Luxury Daycare and Boarding, 5921 Middlebelt Road in Garden City. And you can give them a call at 734-261-7387. Or you can order them through the contact page on their website at gcgc.weebly.com, and just go to the contact page. Be sure to include your name, phone number, email address, and how many calendars you would like. Calendars are still only $12 each, and they thank you for your support. All right, well, I think we're ready to call this a podcast.
Live.
I want to thank everyone that participated in tonight's show. A special thanks to Senator Knezek.
I like that.
That sounds good, I'll tell you, for stopping by. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on. Also, thanks to my co-hosts Richard and Tom. Great job as always. Remember, Joey and Holly will be back next week with new gardening tips for 2015. Also, thanks to everyone who hung out in the chat room with us. We really appreciate it. Remember, for the latest weather, you can go to dappertomsweather.com. He's got a great little website over there, and you'll learn a lot over there. Let's just put it that way. Also, if you have a show idea or a guest you'd like us to try and get on, just send us an email right now at gccommunitychat@gmail.com, and we'll do the best to provide that for you. Don't forget to join our mailing list at the same email address as well. So we hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Remember, the success of a community depends on the community, so please support your local businesses. And also, if you see something, say something. Look out for one another out there. Check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/communitychatshow. So on behalf of Richard and Tom, thanks for listening. Take care and have a great night.
Call recording has been completed.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us in the chat room. We really appreciate it.
See ya.
See you next week.